Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. This is the Champ family. My name is Rochelle, my husband's name is Jeremy. We're gonna put some chili in the crock pot while we're at work today. And then when we get home, we're gonna have a yummy dinner. I'm just gonna show you guys how we make it really quick, how long we leave it in there, and then I'll show you the finished product with a taste test from my amazing husband. All right, so first we're gonna dump in there 1 pound of browned and drained ground beef. And then we are going to dump in 3 cans of light red kidney beans. And I drained these as well. These are the 15.5 ounce cans. So we're gonna dump in 3 each of those. And then we're also gonna dump in 3 cans of the dark red kidney beans. And then to that, we're going to add in an 8 ounce can of tomato paste. So we're just gonna dump that right on top of the beans there. We're gonna add in 2 packets of the French's Chilio seasoning. If you don't like a very strong chili taste, then I would suggest only adding 1 pack, but we like the strong chili taste, so we're going to add in 2. It's a little difficult to get out of there with only 1 hand. Let me get the other one. All right, so we have our, clean that up from the rim. We have our 2 Chilio packets. I'm just going to do a quick stir here. And then we are going to add in 2 46 ounce cans of the 100% fresh pressed tomato juice. So we're just going to add that in here. It actually may not need to. I'm used to having the bigger crock pot, and in this one it's not so big. All right, so I think we're just gonna leave it at the 1 tomato juice. We're gonna put this on, I'm gonna move the other one out of the way. We're gonna set this on low and we're gonna let it cook for 5 to 6 hours while we're at work. I'll be back with a taste test from my amazing husband. We'll talk to you guys soon. Hello everyone. So I just got home from work and I'm just going to open up the crock pot here, mix everything together, make sure that it's all done. As you can see here, it's all done. It's looking great. It smells so good in our house. After I mix this all up, I'm just gonna plate it up and serve it to my husband. We was really sick on this day, so we ended up not doing a taste test, but the chili was so good. We ended up topping ours with just a little bit of a mild cheddar cheese and then also a little dollop of sour cream. It was so good. As soon as I get done dipping this out, I'll show you right here what our bowls looked like. It was such a delicious dinner. Definitely try it this way. It was so good. We just wanted a little sweet snack for this evening since we wasn't feeling good, so I just made some of these pumpkin cookies. They were so delicious. Definitely get them in your store. Tonight, we just wanted a creamy tomato shrimp pasta. We have this all the time. It is one of our favorite meals. I actually took it from a Tuscan shrimp recipe and kind of changed it up to kind of what we like it. It's almost like a vodka sauce without the vodka and a tiny bit creamier, a little less tomatoey, but it's really close to like how the vodka pasta tastes. And then we just add shrimp instead of beef or no meat at all. Today I just wanted to add shrimp. So I got the shrimp. I just drained it a little bit like it says to do on the package. If it's frozen, we added a little bit of paprika to it. I love how paprika just gives it a really nice color. a little bit of a taste, but not very much. And then we also added a little bit of parsley flakes. I love the way that parsley tastes in some of these like more tomatoey meals. And then we also add just a little bit of a basil. And the basil just gives it a really good taste with the tomato. It's not too like herby tasting, but it's very mild. It tastes so good with that. So, and then I'll also add just a little bit of Kinder's buttery burger seasoning. It goes really good with burgers also, but it tastes so good in any kind of like pasta like this. Like if you want just that little bit of extra buttery flavor, it tastes so good in this. So we added that, and then I put a little bit of pepper in here also. I don't do any salt because we're gonna add in a little bit of Parmesan cheese into the sauce and then also on top. So I don't add any salt because you definitely get enough saltiness from the cheese. So I just mix all of this together really good. And then I already have the stove on medium high. So I just add everything in there, make sure that the shrimp is all one layer so that way it cooks evenly. I just make sure that all that is really good, as you can see here. As that is doing its thing, I am getting everything else together and ready for everything else. I need a spatula and tongs for the meal that we're making right now, so I get all that out. After I flip all of these and make sure that they are single layered, then I'm going to get everything else ready to be able to do everything else all at the same time whenever it needs to be done, because we also need to do our pasta, which I have a new fun pasta that we're going to try here, and it ended up going so good in this recipe. But so we have to make sure that the pasta's coming up. I'll end up putting the water on in just a second to boil, or to come to a boil. So that way it all kind of gets done at the same time. Nothing is setting too long, gets cold. It all kind of comes together and goes together so nicely in the end. You just kind of time everything out to where it needs to be at. So as you can see here, the shrimp is cooking up very nicely at this point. I'm getting the water ready right now, so that way it will be ready for the pasta to go in as soon as the shrimp is done. The shrimp will only have to wait for just a couple minutes until the pasta is done, and then it will be ready. I was just wiping off the bottom of the water pot here, so that way it's not on our stove and makes a mess. I feel like every time I cook, my stove gets so dirty from oil or whatever, but I added a little bit of salt to the pasta water just so it doesn't stick together. Like I said, this is a new pasta, so I didn't know exactly how it was going to cook. It's kind of a mixture of like a regular pasta consistency and also like an egg noodle consistency, so I didn't know if it was going to be a sticky noodle or how it was going to cook. So I did add just a tiny bit of a tiny bit of salt to the water as it was coming to a boil. Then I'm going to flip the shrimp here to make sure that everything kind of gets cooked very evenly. I always don't want to overcook it, so I just make sure it gets to a really nice shade that I know that it's done. I flip it over, make sure that the seasonings are on everything, because that is a huge thing in this dish, is to make sure that you season everything. The seasonings just bring out so much flavor and so much freshness. Even though you're using like the canned dried seasoning, it just brings so much freshness to this recipe. So just make sure you use a bunch of seasonings that you like. If you don't like any of the seasonings that we use here, definitely just make it your own. Like I said, I got this recipe from a Tuscan shrimp pasta recipe, and then I just changed it to make it our own, and it's very creamy, tomatoey, so we just call it creamy tomato shrimp pasta. Definitely give this a try, and then whatever you guys don't like, just change it to be your own, and it is absolutely so amazing. So then I have all the shrimp flipped over here. That way it's all cooking evenly. You're getting a nice sear on everything, but you don't want to overcook it. You don't want your seasonings to be burnt, especially with the parsley and the basil. You don't want it to be burnt. So that's what we're doing right here. Just making sure that it all comes to a nice temperature all together. You get a nice sear on it, and everything is perfect. I'm also, while I'm waiting on this, getting out everything to make the sauce, because we're almost at that point that we're going to be making the sauce. And of course, the camera has got to get all fogged out from the steam, but you guys can still see, and I caught this too late, so there's nothing I could do about it. but the shrimp is cooking up very nicely. It is almost done at this point, which is perfect because the water is coming to a boil. So we're getting ready to add in the pasta, and then it'll all come together so good in just a couple minutes. This recipe is so simple, and it literally takes no time at all. I just mix everything together one more time in this just to make sure that everything is good and has come together. And then I'm gonna get a bowl and take all of these out of here like I'm gonna do in just a second. The shrimp really does have such a beautiful color with the paprika. Like, it just makes it look so good, and we love having color to our food, especially in this dish because it's definitely fall colored. It is definitely a fall dish. It's not really soupy, but it has a ton of that sauce on there, and it makes it so good. We eat this, it doesn't matter what season, but it's so much better in the fall because it's got a little chill outside, a little chill in your house if you haven't started your fire yet, and it is so good on a cool day, just like today. It was so cool, and it felt so good being able to eat a meal like this. It just warms you up, warms your soul, and it's just so good. So I just sprayed Pam in the pan just a little bit because we're going to use all those good bits on the bottom from the seasoning into the sauce. I'm getting ready to add in just a tiny bit of minced garlic. We don't like too much of a strong garlic flavor. We just feel like it overtakes everything. So we're adding in just a tiny bit of garlic here. As you can see, about a half of a teaspoon of fresh minced garlic. And then not fresh minced garlic, just minced garlic. So then I just stir around that garlic there to make sure that it becomes real fragrant, get all those bits off the bottom. And then as I was waiting on everything else, I was so worried that the garlic was going to be burnt. So after I add in this half and half cream here, you will see me bend down and just smell it because I just wanted to make sure that the garlic did not burn and give everything a bitter taste, because I would just start over on the sauce if that was the case. But everything is so good and it was all right. It did not smell burnt. It just had a slight garlic fragrance to it, which is perfect and exactly what we wanted. I just kind of eyeball this part because I've made it so many times at this point. I just kind of add how much I think that we're going to need for the amount of noodles that we're making. We made about half a bag of these new noodles that we got, but I added all of that in. I'm getting ready to add a little bit of the traditional Prego. We don't really love tomatoes, so instead of using like crushed tomatoes or tomato pieces or anything like that, we just use a little bit of pasta sauce, and it gives it that nice tomato flavor without it being too much. So that's on here. Everything's coming to a good little mix together now. I did turn down the heat. It is on a low medium at this point. So I'm just kind of getting everything all together. And then I am going to add in the pasta and let that just come together a little bit more to make it a little bit easier to mix up. So we have some of these tomato basil pasta right here, and I got this from our little local farmers market. They were so good in this because we have a little bit of basil in the shrimp mixture, and I end up adding a tiny bit to the sauce as well. So just the extra little basil in the noodle was so good, and then with the tomato base in the sauce, you also have that little bit of tomato taste to the noodle. It came together so good, and it was so delicious. So then I'm going to go back to mixing up this, and as you see, as I let it set there for just those couple minutes on that medium low or low medium, it came together so much nicer. It was so much easier to mix together at this point. So as that is happening, I just wanted to get a little wooden spoon out here so I could stir the noodles, make sure they wasn't sticking together, and they actually did really good. They did not stick at all. So if you see this brand of noodle anywhere, definitely get them. I also see that they had a spinach noodle, and I really thought about getting those. The next time we go, I probably am going to get them because we like spinach pasta or anything like that, and I do add a little bit of spinach to this, but I definitely am going to get those spinach noodles and give those a try as well, because they was really good, or I feel like they would be really good with just how good these tomato basil ones were. So right here, I'm just adding in a little bit of shredded Parmesan cheese. And this is an 8-ounce thing. I probably added half of it, so I'd say about 4 ounces of the shredded cheese here. And then I'll also go in with a little bit of Parmesan Romano cheese here, the grated cheese, and that just gives it a little bit more texture to the sauce, but it also just makes it a little bit thicker to where the shredded cheese kind of just gives it more of like that cheese pool. This just makes the sauce just a tiny bit thicker. So I mix all that in really good, and then I'm going to add in the seasonings here. You'll see in just a second. And then the sauce will pretty much be complete after this. I just mix this around really good. Make sure that everything gets really nice and melted together and blended together. And then you add in your seasonings, and that's pretty much all it is to the sauce. It's really not much at all. Just wanted to stir these noodles again. Like I said, this is the first time using that brand of noodles and that type of noodle. So I just wasn't sure how it was going to cook up. So I just keep going back and checking on it. They was doing perfect though. They was really good, and the texture of them was literally perfect for this pasta. Right here, I'm just adding in a little bit of parsley. I'm also going to add in a little bit more of that basil. So I didn't add too much basil to this again. This shaker bottle it doesn't come out the best, so we didn't add too much to that. I'm also going to add a little bit of more pepper. We like pepper and stuff, and I love extra pepper, but my husband's not a huge pepper person, so I just added a little bit extra to mine once the whole dish was done. But I just kind of let this all come together. I mixed those seasonings in. It was so pretty with that nice rich orangey red color with the little flakes of all the herbs in there. It was so good. So I just make sure to mix it all, make sure that it all comes together like I said, and then I just kind of let it rest, to give it a break, let it kind of come to a small simmer. And once again, like I said, I'm checking on those noodles. At this point, I see that they was okay. They was coming together just fine. I just like to keep an eye on them, like I said, because it is a new brand, and I just wanted to make sure that they wasn't going to be overcooked and mushy, because it just would not have went with this pasta very well if that would have happened. I'm just getting everything else together right now. Make sure that the strainer is ready for the noodles. Just getting everything together while all this is finishing. As you can see, the sauce here is starting to come to a nice simmer. And as soon as it starts to simmer, I always like to add in the spinach at this point, so that way it can wilt down really nice and fast, because the pasta sauce is done at this point. So I just want to make sure that it wilts really quickly. It comes to that nice simmer. I just like to put everything in there and just kind of let the spinach do its own thing. You don't need to really stir the spinach too much. And as soon as it is wilted, then you're done. You kind of want to take it out at that point, because it's done at that point. You don't need to do any more. If it gets too wilted, to me, it almost has like a slimy texture to it, and I don't like that at all. So right here, I just kind of submerge everything, and then I let it do its thing, and it wilts really fast. It wilts nicely and just adds a little extra something to the pasta. And I really can't ever taste spinach whenever I add it into things like this, so it just gives you an extra green that you don't even taste. And if you're not a huge vegetable person, this is a great way to hide it. I'm also making a little snack for tonight, a little dessert, so I will show you those in just a second, but I just took them out of the oven, so I just wanted to show you guys. But the sauce is coming up to another nice little boil at this point, so it is pretty much done. I'm just letting it kind of all come together, keep wilting that spinach in there, and it is coming together really nicely. As you can see, that spinach is pretty much wilted at this point, and pretty much to the point to where I like it to be. So I'm just kind of mixing it all together again, make sure that it's all cooked evenly, and then I'm going to turn off the heat and just kind of let it sit there for a second. And then I'm getting ready to drain these noodles, and as soon as the noodles are drained, I will put it all together, and you will see how easy it all comes together and just how perfect it comes together. It is so simple and so easy. Definitely give this recipe a try if you have never tried it before. Like I said, I did get this from that Tuscan shrimp pasta recipe, and I just changed a couple things in it just to kind of make it ours, but it comes together so fast and so easy. It's definitely one of those easy dinner meals. This week we were so sick and congested and nasally, and we still are just a tiny bit, so it just comes together super easy. I'm dumping these noodles in here at this point. They are such a pretty color. They looked so pretty in this pasta. So I dumped those in here together. And then I'm going to add in the sauce at this point. And that sauce also is such a pretty color. It was pretty much the same color as the pasta, or as the pasta there. So the sauce and the pasta blended in so nicely together. It was so pretty. It was such a pretty dinner. And then I just added in the shrimp, which also almost blends in with the colors. It was so pretty, such a deep, rich, orangey red color with the touches of green. It was so pretty and such a nice fall meal, color and taste-wise. Like I said, if you guys have not tasted this, definitely give this a taste test. Make it. It is super simple for just a quick dinner in the evening, and it was so good. We took a little bit of fresh Parmesan, grated it on top after we plated it up. It was so good. These are those apple cinnamon roll muffins. They were delicious. This is how you make them. They were so simple and so good. And then I just wanted to give you guys a local farmer's market haul. This was that fresh Parmesan cheese that I used in the last recipe. Some apple pie filling for those apple cinnamon roll muffins. These are those noodles that I got that I also used in the pasta recipe. I also got some hot apple butter from a local church that was at the farmer's market. We got some Concord grape jelly from the local farmer's market. And then I also got some pumpkin butter. I've seen this in Walmart as the Great Value brand, but I didn't try it because I was just kind of scared. And these queso chips are the best. Thank you guys so much for watching our video. Before you leave, please like and